Welcome to our lovely future humans, to the 5D Collective. To those who are new, we're going to have some points of view, stories, and channeled guidance, food for thought, messages. So if you tuned into our other episode, God's children, they're all loved, and shame on the adults who lead with ignorance and are definitely unhealed. Unfortunately, they know how to be fools like we do and use their words however they may please, but the discerning ear will be an equanimous, loving ear, which is why we know that love anchors in the truth. Since it is clear of pain, the trauma charges. So you accept and reject nothing. Anima mundi. Oh, you're also not a teenager version of yourself, which means you're not the adaptive child part. Black and white thinkers. The people who are going to stay in the 3D, 4D low frequency, they have up and down and merry-go-round. The way Tara Brach shows it, it's an amygdala, or it's an open brain, it's not integrated. They don't know the flow state, so they don't go with the flow because they're not open-hearted. So they are not connected to the thread that is to your vessel. That's right here. And yes, the thread to your vessel is your heart. So the insula lights up when you're using your brain in a physiological state of compassion. So the bright sides of neuroplasticity. When, on the other hand, you're in a body that's protecting itself, dark sides of neuroplasticity. So that's why Dr. Amy Pegan points out neuroception. It's not willpower that'll help somebody get out of their survival mode. In fact, actually, wait. So every 24 hours counts because you're using the power of neuroplasticity, either to lock yourself in, shame, blame, fault, revenge, where our 3D, 4D brothers and sisters, they're going to follow their fake leaders. Well, excuse me, I'm so sorry. They're not fake because they're fake. They're mass, like Cusco. So when you meet those who are false selves, their identity is made up of a bunch of words. If you change the words up, they say that you can't do it, which is why they still believe there's Lucifer monsters behind yoga and tarot and mystic. So whenever you see people being divisive, remember, they're not smart. They're not stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. They go chaotic and or rigid. And then when they get irritable in their irritable butthole, you get to meet, basically, it's not their 3-year-old, but you might as well treat it as such because it's a 14-month-old. There's studies that show the 14-month-old will play nice with the teddy bear that likes the same cereal that the 14-month-old. Science proves what works. Children who are not healed become grown-ups who think they're smart, playing Russian roulette on a screen, and you think that's hilarious. Dogma, pseudo-intellectual, spiritual bypasser, moron, I'm sorry, God, human being who's going to be there for all the Pinocchios and Peter Pans. Yep, have fun, Wendy. I know you're there, Wendy. So they're making up shit like journalists who say writing stories with fantasy will help you learn things. Sure it will. Keep on confusing it. I know I'm pseudoscience for a reason. Hey, Neil deGrasse, I love you, man. I know that you proved the earth was round, but I think the flat earthers are going to come with some other, because we all can make sense to ourselves. We can all build breadcrumbs with all the information that we've gathered. That's how smart brains work. Difference is that truly smart brains know it, which is why we're grounded in reality. And that's why I know that any of my cherishable beliefs could be falsifiable. So the ones when I say demons exist, I say, no, that actually can't because I'm a mystic. I know the plane. And there's never been any demon near me. If anyone ever gets near me, quote unquote, it's basically the energetic frequency. It's like, okay, get away. So when you're a mystic, you do tap into the sphere of Akash because, you're also, some of us at least, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit. I never left that which is my good Christian Catholic upbringing. Forgive, Maria, I'm forgiving. They don't know. Blessed are you that you know your brothers and sisters. They're all angels. I know, they're all good. Even the bad ones are good because there's no monster inside of any. I've looked into the eyes of many a people, one of which said, Maria, what you're doing is dangerous. And he's a mystic too. I said, what? Looking in your eyes? You're not dangerous. They're not dangerous. Do you know what happens when you meet the dark eyes? It's unfortunate. They need therapy. They're not dangerous. No, Maria. So this is a friend of mine. He did this thing because masculines like to test. No, they don't. He's an empowered masculine. He's healing and a smart one. The ones who are not, they're all distorted feminines and not empowered masculines. And so I use words my way. By the way, we're going to get to every 24 hours is a joyride. Like consistently you're on the thread of your vessel. So the insula lights up. The amygdala is alerted. Alert, because it's alerted to being attentive. Did you know that your amygdala decides who you're going to have any kind of interest? So my 14-month-old, she's still right here and is my 3-year-old, but I'm using my prefrontal, which is why I'm a grown-up. So if I get any kind of charges, I have sensations, images, affects and emotions, basically, behaviors and meanings. Yes, thank you, Peter Levine. So whenever some shit come up as a mystic, I don't project it and say, I am right and you are wrong and I know that you're a monster. No, I say, there's Patrick McNamara. There's no demon inside of you, no entity attached, no monster. Now, let me ask you this. You told me about this very important thing. Did you know that very, very big trauma, fragmentation, like that needs actual support? Because there's a smart ones that can help you heal that stuff. And that way you can completely become an integrated brain, and then you do from alert to grounded. And now we're in good resilience land. Now we're using the power of neuroplasticity because we got the left and the right working together. So insula lights up, amygdala is alerted. My temporal junction, which will relate to everything that I'm being in the midst right now. Oh, look, Maria had experiences. Yes, thank you, brain, for being smart. That's why I don't have to get out of bed and learn to walk again. And then I move to my prefrontal because I'm a smart human being who's emotionally intelligent, mentally intelligent, and physically intelligent. It means I self-regulate, which is why I don't have to be convinced about anything. I'm meaning, no, you don't have to talk sense to me. I know who the smart human beings are, and then I know who the other smart human beings are and why we have them. And that inspiring human potential, it's be yourself the smart way. Be yourself means you, not pretend. So that's the only people that are going to be happy as can be. And when we hear the bad JoJo thing, we all laugh together and say, wow, tarot, really? I was already 16 and knew it was a lie. 18, I'm like, hey, no Lucifer, just bunch of cowards, God. Hey, by the way, the cloak people, they're hurting children. Can't stand behind people who say they speak you, but they hurt children. I know you don't hurt children because I talk to you all the time. You're discerning, you're equanimous, you're loving. If you want, you can find out more about me in the book I'm a co-author of, The Ways to God. There's 9 of us as spiritual authors. You get to find out very little bit about my good Christian Catholic upbringing. And as a self-agent, my mother taught me what manipulative grown-ups look like and not to believe them and to be polite. And I told God, I said, they're being mean. Even if I feel a little bit of guilt, I know it's only because they told me that they represent you. But, God, I heard that prophecy, like spiritual gifts and clairs are all the same, and intuitiveness. And then I heard about the explanation of process. Speak forth mind and heart of God to encourage, comfort, challenge, or strengthen. Outside of time, so can predict events future with visions of or dreams. Yes, why are they still using the past books for the future? It's not the past. Are they living in Plato's Socrates book, the one where they're staring at the cave? When you meet pseudo-intellectuals and pseudoscience that are not like, I'm grounded in reality, pseudoscience, the ones who like flat earther, for example, or anybody who thinks it's like one-stop shop, there's no one-stop shop. That's why science and spirituality come together. So your 24 hours, if you're using the bright sides of neuroplasticity, you're going to break bad habits like a champ. Because you open-ended inquire. You're not being, oh my God, what happened to me? It's, okay, hey God, so listen, I think I'm on round 2 with this other coward. He taught me how not to actually stop talking to people I love, and that's my facade friend. You heard about the story. As for twin flames, do you really think that twin flames would ever test the actual feminine of their oversoul? I'm just gonna have to put it the actual. Sorry, empowered. So empowered feminines, you can't actually buffoon us. Because we know humility. I'm so sorry, God, I forget to mention that every now and then. It's called my masculine friend. Come back in, my empowered masculine mystic friend. As him and I are having a conversation, he knows what feminines are. And so he looks at me and he says, okay, fine. Okay, so you're telling me that you understand how attachment trauma works. I got it. He's like, okay, let me get Sadhguru. He has a good quote for us today. So when somebody's using what Tara Brach would say is their unfortunate fear. So when people are using fear, the unhealthy kind, they're like this. It's why their body's under stress, the bad kind. So they didn't do themselves any favor by getting in a rut. And so when your low frequency is actually your unhealth, and then all of the maladaptive patterns of behavior, inner critic, outer critic, drinking, drugging, fucking, a lot of ways to escape and procrastinate, pretend, and continuously using the dark sides of neuroplasticity, you're just going to use the same energy, which is low frequency. So it's not the health, but hey, everybody gets to have that which is called free will because, God doesn't intervene in it. You get to choose. Or, as Robert Sapolsky points out, people don't have free will because they've already been determined by their first 3 years of life. Robert, I'm starting to think you're correct, but it's still a hypothesis that is mostly qualitative. I believe in analysis. However, have to say, I know who's going to be at IHP. It's going to be the 3-year-olds who have a good time with life. Look at how much time you spend on survival aspects and how much on creative aspects. time is not money, time is life. Yes, time is life and money. And so when people don't know that the thread to your vessel is your heart, a heart that is open to the truth of you as a part of all that is, and that gets to share life with a whole self, soul, in relationships with true love. That's from me to you. Channeled message, food for thought. Okay, so love anchors in the truth because it is clear of pain. And Sadhguru has another lovely quote for us. Let me read that one. Here it is. It this one? No. Nope. Hold on just 1 second. There was one where he's talking about it, but it might not be in my notes as it speaks. The inner adult is the expert in the present. The inner child is the expert on the past. Thank you, Patrick Tiahan. So when people are using their emotionally immature aspects, they are triggered and they're not processing it in the right way. Our triggers often prevent us from seeing the other person's humanity. Thank you, Patrick Tiahan. Okay, so the people who don't want to become pain-free from the suffering bit are like a Zen master who talks to you about laundry. And that's because there's a negative neuroplasticity agent at hand. And so when you're choosing not to integrate, to bring your prefrontal cortex on, as even a lovely Terry Real would point out in an interaction, you won't be the inner adult. And as Patrick Chan will point out, you're going to be an adaptive child part who doesn't give two shits about anybody else except for whatever's upsetting you in that moment, which is why the self-serving people, the ones who actually think of humanity as selfish in a way of they're assholes for real, are different. I don't think they're assholes for real. I can be an asshole too. I didn't have to be deluded. That's a human being who thinks that I thought about decency. I'm like, it's not about decency. My amygdala was alerted to nothing. I have no interest in unhealthy, self-soothing human beings who I will not have any intellectual or emotional connection with. It's not me trying to be snooty. It's actively, I have nothing in common with you. And I was taught not to say, you didn't tell him you didn't like him in his face. No, Mom, I didn't say anything. I actually did nothing. Except for one thing. I didn't tell it to her that way, but I'm telling you what my men friends said. Because you're polyamory, because you're affectionate, because you hug, because you're all these things, Maria, men can get confused. So just make sure, if you really don't want to be anywhere near any man in any way, shape, or form, be like a fucking bitch. And I said, okay, after the third or fourth time that they actually proved their points. And so when he did the decency, do you think I could tell him in his face? Because my men friend said that I have to be a fucking cold bitch. No, and also he was drunk. And why would I bother talking to a person who's so upset in their low frequency of the manipulative desperation, and then they even get a pat on the back from the human being who had to reject them, by the way. Everybody's being so mean. They're not being mean. The human being actively as a wife, a kid, we don't know who they are, and they're both women, the daughter and the wife. And I'm just wondering, why do you always, so anyways, that's a long story short, but as for 24 hours, you better bet we haven't seen him anymore, thank goodness, because seriously, the fact that a person doesn't notice that they could be helped is beyond the bejesus of me. Oh, wait, that's right. The left brain becomes basically an asshole by the time you allow him or her or they to lead you. There's an awesome man who talks about the left brain and the right brain, and actually he gives them names. I'm not going to tell you what the names are because that's not nice, and I don't think that you want your left and right to be enemies. You want them to be friends. Also, they can be friends when you learn how to use your brain like I'm using it, the flow state. So thanks, Dr. Dan. When you have an integrated brain, it's called you go with the flow. That's why the inner growth mindset works, and you are doing dharma, not karma. So you're consistently expanding every 12 months. So right now we have, thank you, God, comfort, encourage, challenge, strengthen. Let me tell you, the breakthrough energy that comes from dissolving limiting consciousness, this is from me to you, beliefs, thoughts, and emotions, feelings, is invigorating and full of the energy of the breath of life and love, because positive, restorative embodiment, resilience is this. So when I'm smiling and people say I'm pretending, I'm not, but I would be very not nice to say, so you want me to suffer. Also, I know that's not true, but also even if I say that, they're going to say, you're pretending to have no emotions, Maria, because we are sure that you have to have suffered since you cried a lot. I didn't realize I couldn't cry without suffering. I can actually cry without suffering because I use my prefrontal cortex. It's an integrated brain. You must not have learned how to use two sides of your brain, but should I put you in your spot? No, because that's why God taught me not to play know-it-all, because he knew that I would be able to. But also by the time I was 20, I'm busy with life, and I'm busy doing things, helping people want to be their self. So I'm making sure that at IHP we have only the smart ones, because good intentions are not enough. It takes the right action, performance, the right consciousness to produce the necessary results. Thank you, Sadhguru. And brains that have the dark sides of neuroplasticity, they never get up. Because all they do is they're off, on, off, on. It's a really yucky dopamine hit, by the way. And in the meantime, when you get a man who sounds like fabulous on screen and he does this Russian roulette thing and you're like, damn it, this man, I really like what he's saying, but there's just something I can't pinpoint. What the fuck is up with this? Because that's how good a gut is, empowered feminine. And I was like, I woke up in the morning because I fell asleep with his voice. And I knew by the time I got to get all comfortable in my body, I was like, oh, that's what it is. His heart wasn't lit up. His brain wasn't lit up. Only his visceral, yucky, shitty gut. You know why it's yucky? Because the ancestors with their cruelty and their barbarism and all that, yeah, it was useful when we were one with the bears in our hands. Today, it's called you don't know how to use your brain. And I don't need to be around a buffoon, because the minute you're so reactive that you don't know how to handle yourself, well, I mean, come on. Ignorance is not bliss. It's just for the people who remain ignorant, and that's why shame on the grown-ups who are continuing to do that which is continue perpetuating stereotypes. Polyamory would be the horrors of the situation. Having the possibility to get divorced would be a problem. I mean, what year are they living in? I'm so sorry. There's people who don't take their children to hospitals and they think they're more of faith. So at the same time, there's people who you say there's no entity or dark auras or energy vampires in people. They're people. And if they need a therapist, it's really not nice of you to be mean to them and dehumanize them. Oh, we do know the atrocities that happen in the world. It's because of the man with the little hand in his Russian roulette. So moronic egos, because they're reactive and they get like a little 3-year-old, but they have a bunch of people who together they pat each other, they continue. The thing is, it's all entertainment for those of us who are in communion with God and Akash and Source, because you do know cosmic karmic balancing, don't you? I'm bringing in stories and a lot more, but every 24 hours you're going to use the bright sides of neuroplasticity, which is why you create more resiliency the good way, or not. And the not is really not interesting, because again, it's a low emotional mental intelligence person who will want to hang out with the barbaric ones, like those teenagers that I was around. And grown-ups, let me tell you some stories. I'll never forget when I met with these human beings and I spent an evening with them, not my friends, not people I know. And while I know that barbaric might be sounding big, no, Maria uses words like a child. So just FYI, it's like the Flintstones barbaric, FYI. And then for the actual barbaric, well, again, shame on those grown-ups, but they're ignorant. And so let me put that aside as I was saying the story. So these are not people that I know, but I did know them as a teenager. They were in the same town, like this small town. We all knew each other. You're going to hear some fun stories. These ignorant human beings stayed ignorant. So barbaric, yeah, because essentially these are the same men and women who are okay with hitting each other, beating each other, treating each other like sex objects. All those stereotypes, they're stereotypes because they're not actually how emotionally, mentally, and physically intelligent human beings will function in life. Furthermore, it's seriously entertaining to spot it. I mean, Mean Girls, Hangover, anyone? So yeah, anyways, back to this. These people and once you understand perception, if you own the sense of self, you know what I'm talking about. And so as somatic empaths, we all walk around, it's not emotions that are contagious. It's that we're nervous systems. That's why the man with the little Russian roulette, I was bothered by something, but I couldn't pinpoint what, because his voice in the meantime was beautiful. And so here's how you are able to know. Are you discerning, equanimous, and loving, and that pure vessel, thanks to you owning your heart, thank you God, and hearing God's timbre of, hey, all on the floor, and even tarot reels. And any smart therapist will tell you. I found the quote, by the way, of Sadhguru. You do not have a choice about being in physical pain, but you can always choose not to suffer. So when you are using the 24 hours you have, today I'm going to be Maria tomorrow. So my future self is made by every single bit of what I eat, what I drink, what I consume, what I learn. If there's one thing I miss from my life growing up, I told my mom, I wanted all the smart ones. Dr. Daniel Siegel, Stephen Porges, Dr. Daniel Fox, all the smart therapists and all the smart scientists and all the smart all of those who went to college and all of those who understand why they would want to learn from all these people and then continue to learn more and then more. And they are all compassionate, might I add. All of them. They're not barbaric. They're not ignorant. Now, the ignorant ones with degrees, yes, there's a psychologist man who compares a woman to a dress, and let me not go there because I thought he was joking. And then I said, no, there's a woman who says, wedding bells, and after you fuck, don't you know, didn't your women and men friends tell you, no, you're a whore and you're trash. You're not wedding material. Nobody's going to marry you. You know, there's still people who actually want celibacy. That's how ignorant they are. So they completely haven't grown into functional child adults. They're codependent type. So seeing human beings who think that they're adults just for their age in college telling me, what, you live with your mom? Yeah, at least I don't drink and drive and don't do a bunch of, you're going to get old, cirrhosis of the liver, you're going to give that, that's a gift. It's not a gift. You're not wise. Stop. At least accept that you're, so my Pinocchio friends, remember I told you about them. Let me get back to the other story first. Okay. So you do not have a choice about physical pain, but if you do good by your body and you do good by your food and you do good by your reading and you do good by everything, that's why I'm telling you all. At 4, I was told I was too serious. I'm not too serious. I'm thorough. I'm intellectual. I'm emotional. I am aware that every 24 hours I'm being gifted life and I'm not in survival mode. And the only survival fear that I have is I need air to breathe. Please, let's take care of the environment. I need water to drink. Where's my water? I'm going to die of thirst. Oh my God, that's going to be horrible. And food. Please, God, protect all your children. Oh, by the way, I said to you all, I have a download for my 5D collective. I told one of them, you know when Atlantis went underwater and it protected itself with a dome? Yeah. So as the future continues to be here, because the past, people in 3D 4D don't think we're here anymore. No, they don't think we're here yet. They just like to channel and download from their future selves. I'm Maria. I'm grounded in reality, and I'm a mystic that is a 5D mystic, and I'm here to let you know that I already knew the timeline, and I am sad to say that it doesn't make me joyous to know that my 3D 4D brothers and sisters have chosen to stay stuck to shame and their defectiveness. But I do understand the man who made a very brilliant explanation of how the left and right work, and he is correct, and Robert Sapolsky is why. I'm starting to think he's right, which is a very sad story, because then it means that only the people at the beginning of the Book of Akash will end up being in 5D, because they're the only ones who already know how to live life with the bright sides of neuroplasticity, because they own their sense of self. They are the ones who know the timber of truth, which is God doesn't have favorites. All his children are his favorites, and God has all of Animal King, every single bit. Thank you to Enoch, who I'm pretty sure I know he will not flood the earth again, because that's how weak the human beings are who don't want to forgive. Because see, weakness is about you not being able to process that which is called sadness, because your 0-1-year-old's feelings got hurt. And your 2-year-olds and your 3-year-olds. So when I see a little girl in my mind's eye crying for physically being endangered, physically, that's the little girl I'm thinking. If ever one day I meet her eyes again and she is someone who is not barbaric, but she has cold-blooded, well, I already got tested by a bunch of people who don't believe in kindness. They don't believe in neutrality. No, they think I'm hiding a sword. In fact, here's a teenage story for you, a couple of them. I'll never forget when one of my friends translated the sentence that my friends were saying to me, which I thought was something cute. I find out that they think that I am actually capable of pulling one over them. And I said, what? So they don't trust me. And my friend said, no, Maria, it's a joke. And I said, no, it's not a joke. You say they don't trust, they think that I would be conniving. What kind of friends why are they stupid? I said to my friend, they must be stupid. No, Maria, you're taking it. No, I'm not taking anything too literally. The minute you spoke words like this and you're actually hanging out, that ain't no joke. I don't handle jokes. No, I handle jokes. I just don't believe it's a joke, because you actively believe that I could be conniving. And when I did get accused, and this I'll never forget, and this is why I wasn't being tested, the accusation, hey, can you prove your heart? Can you prove intent? Which is why anybody who has any kind of integrity and acceptance will know exactly why no one can really wield that mouth and say, oh, you can't prove it. And if you're going to try to get under my skin, quote unquote, by calling me bad, wow, you just tried the 3-year-old, spiteful, nothing more than a poor human being who has only one energy that was gifted to them, which is why I'm happy that could get it off his chest. That's how sad it is for a human like me to understand everything I already understood as a kid. You're all cowards, pretending to be mean while being brokenhearted, acting like assholes, saying you have each other's back, you have nobody's back. You get in trouble, you live lives that are completely, I have a friend of mine, you're so serious. You got fun. Once I started going out, I got grown up. I was busy at school. I was never not fun, and I do things with moderation. Why are you still trying to make me do marijuana? I don't want to smoke. And my friend would blow smoke in my face. I'm like, stop. I don't want to smoke. I don't need it. I'm on a high with life. What do you want? You sound like a buffoon right now. And he stop being mean. You sound like an idiot. I can't talk to you. Like you're making no sense to me. So these other teenagers, okay, so fast forward to this other story that I was trying to tell you. Okay, these guys, I never hung out with them because I knew who the bad kids were, the breaking of the rules, all the stupid shit, which is why they were off my list. They know I ain't hanging out with them. And I got to see them as grown-ups. And oh my God, time did not pass. I was just like, oh fucking Lord, you got to be kidding me. They're like the 15-year-old version. You know, when you were a kid, you didn't have any money, so we'd bum cigarettes off of each other, even though we weren't supposed to. You're not supposed to do that. There's laws. We all know some of the, but no, as a grown-up, no. I will not be being one of those grown-ups who's going to give the green passes. Nope. But anyways, I also won't be like, bad. So when people are immediately going to judge someone based on an article, that's bullshit. You don't know what's going to happen with the... So, anyways, I'm bringing in a bunch of things. But I go out with these people, and I'm seeing them behave like when we were teenagers. They're stingy with money. They're stingy with smoking. This one dude, he just downed a drink like 2 seconds before getting on a moped. And once we get to our next location, he got sick to the point of where my Reiki activated, because we are all energy, and the energy knows where to go if the other person is in need of it. And the people who call people energy vampires, again, that's really not nice. So long story short, I found my hands activated. This guy's sweating and cold sweat. I'm like, well, no shit, Sherlock. In my head, I'm thinking you went on a moped, you downed a drink. I don't even think that was safe because you're on a moped. You're not even in a car. And you all look like buffoons. And they were, in fact, just doing what teenagers that I had seen them do. And then you grow up and you continue to see that. I am a 45.0 version of myself. And when I go out and meet my Pinocchio friends, they do the same thing. So 24 hours, yes, you either will use the bright sides of neuroplasticity and have a good time with your ventral vagal state on, and then you also make fun. We have clowns, we have lots of jokes, but you use the entrepreneurial mind, you use a lot of beautiful, beautiful time. So our IHP community will be getting together. Bold steps forward, protecting the future. There's no harm to our earth, don't worry, beginner's mind. That's why we do the truth, the crone. So the people who don't like to hear the truth, they sound like whining little kids. The 14-month-old still makes a huge fuss. And when a person doesn't know how to understand, every 24 hours counts. Because you are consistently choosing to repeat the same habits or to break free from bad habits. And you know, willpower does work. But that's if you have a body that you can self-regulate. Otherwise, you need first Dr. Amy Pegan. And then you're going to be able to have the power, all of it, because you are master of yourself. Anyone who thinks they cannot master their subconscious and conscious has no idea how to understand that you're a embodied brain. You're subconscious and conscious. You're 0 to 8-year-old. There's many different voices and many different schools of thought. But at the end of the day, the smart ones, neuroscience, neurobiology, mental health, all of them, point to, yes, the kingdom of God is within every one of you and the seed of enlightenment. That's why God's children, they're perfect. The ones who are shamed, they were not meant to be shamed. And our ancestors shamed us when we'd get kicked out of the herd, because that way back when meant, you get eaten by the bear. People who don't like the data explanation, and I'm pseudoscience and I fuck it up and I forget it, but I got the data. The people who don't like it, yeah, I like Neil deGrasse, even if he'll talk down to me because I'm a mystic. I'll still take him over the cloak people who lie and continue to use demonic possession and monsters when there's a man named Patrick McNamara who gives you the very excellent explanation and is studying brains. So it's not what I like or don't like that I speak. Is what works, doesn't work, and there's proof. The saddest thing ever for a person of faith, I believe without seeing, that in every one of my brothers and sisters there's a heart. I didn't need proof to know you're good, you're good, you're good. If you're choosing bad, I'm so sorry, God. That's because something happened to you. Because if you don't know how to love, well, I do. And that is because of a lovely man. Where's my lovely Jesus? I lost Jesus. Here he is. So he suffered for our sins, and he didn't have science. I don't have to suffer for people's sins because I got science, and also because I learned how to differentiate. Thanks, Dr. Dan. So you pick up on our brothers and sisters. When I was opened up to my oversoul, there were at least 5 years where these people kept doing the same shit over and over and over again. Karma. At a certain point, I said, get the fuck out of my space. It wasn't something scary. It was, get out of my space. You sound like little flies that are just buzzing on the wall. You're not annoying me. You're annoying yourselves, but I can feel you. Get out of my space. And then I moved out to the lovely world. And then I got to hear from Tar Brock how during the whole pandemic and all that, her and Sion Porges explained we're a herd. We pick up on each other's nervous system. And that's why those who have an insula that lights up, and then our amygdala, it's alerted to all of those who would need us. And then our temporal junction, but we're smart and we move to our prefrontal. We don't use our past because our past is based on yesterday. But also because we don't use our charges. If I used my charges, I would not be here speaking to you. I'm smart and I don't use my charges. I am processing them. That's why secure, detached, non-traumatized people are the ones who will be back here. They're the only ones who know how to self-regulate. And not to cry pity party and, oh, poor Zen master with his little laundry, or call out some monster that doesn't exist because there's no monster. If there's one of those numbers of victories, I told God by the time I was 20, and today, is it a victory? It's not a victory because not all my brothers and sisters choose healthy fear. So no, we still lose something, but not the way that the people who think monsters win. Nope. What we lose are the ability to meet the 3-year-old of people who could have become the most amazing version of themselves. They would stay the same type of personality patterns. They would just be compassionate, self-loving. That's why they're stupid. This is the sad part. It's not a victory when 8 billion people, all of them can turn into the most amazing version of themselves. But at the same time, I know that is happening. That's why I told God, I said, hey, God, we win. Because the scientists, since they can prove it, it's visible. And that's why I love you, Thomas Campbell, the physicist, as he points out. The truth is not fragile. I already told my teenage friends that. People who still think humanity's broken. I said, humans aren't broken. I'm a human. Stop being an asshole to humans. No, it's not you. No, you're talking about yourself. No, I'm not. Yeah, you are. Stop talking about yourself. And so you stay away from negative people. They have a problem for every solution. They don't believe in their own species. I believe in my own species. And thanks to God and Jesus and Holy Spirit, I know who the right ones are. And then I know bad grown-ups. But it's okay because, free will. You need to choose. If you didn't have options, what would you ever do? So bright sides of neuroplasticity look awesome. Dark sides of neuroplasticity, well, people who are doing it don't believe in it. In fact, it's a sad story. The truth is not fragile. It will always float to the top. But sometimes it takes time to get past beliefs, and it takes a huge paradigm shift to get there. But eventually, he says it will get there. This is the Thomas Campbell physicist. And when it does, and the scientists say yes, this is correct, he says this is a virtual reality. Love is the point. Low entropy is the point, and lowering entropy is obviously healthy. And creating, sharing, that is what is positive. And grabbing, selfish, high entropy, negative. Taking. So he believes it's virtual reality. I am a spiritual one. I don't need to give our life any kind of conclusion. I mean, for me, thanks Neil deGrasse, there's the cosmos. My future husband and I get off of Earth, and I get to see, thank goodness, to my future husband. He had one of the members that are of our future. I got to read for her in Akashic record reading, and so she is, I've told this story before, amazing. I got to see that we are saved, and so we get to another place, and at the end of the day, I don't need to prove any of this. I'm grounded in reality, but we will have mystic stories, and that's why, again, it's not a victory to see those who will choose to stay broken because they're fixable with good therapy. And the words that I use is thanks to a lady who healed from JD. She says, I want people to know that we're not broken, we're fixable, as she tells us why she's writing her book. And so when I saw this lady who's healing from JD, I tipped my hat to her, to Kylie, a narcissist, to sociopaths and psychopaths who are healing. I don't tip my hat to men who want to tell me lack of imagination for evil, or women who want to tell me it's dangerous to have no emotions. And then they go ahead and tell you that it's not true, that it's inherently enlightening or healthy to be non-reactive. Those are morons who could have gotten neuroscience, neurobiologically informed, and then understood what compassion means, because the physiological state of compassion is what the insula lighting up, the amygdala, temporal junction, and me using my prefrontal cortex. They also would have known that those who have childhood developmental trauma react and respond really well to treatment that involves somatic experiencing and a lot more, but they don't want to believe in it because they're not about making decisions based on what truly matters and what truly works. They're based on making decisions on what they like and don't like any other maladaptive patterns of behavior person who has monsters in their head, monsters in their heart, is locked out of themselves, and therefore in their self-righteous contemptuous baton. You see a teenager trying to get vendetta from whatever shit happened to them, which is why it's not surprising that they're trying to save each other. Codependent people, they're emotionally immature. Their default mode network is still not regulated to the I'm not a helpless human being. I'm not a damsel in distress. There's no roof on my head. Actually, in fact, when my friend is like, what you're doing is dangerous, I said, what? Do you see anything on me? I'm looking good. And to close the story out, so when I told you he was testing me. He wasn't testing me. He knows what a feminine is, the empowered kind. And like I know what an empowered masculine is from the spiritual perspective and mystic, because science people, I mean, if they're true scientists, then they have fun with us. If they're the type that want to continue saying that our experiences are fake, well, sorry, we won't be talking to them that much, because they will be denying experiences we have with I'm going to talk down to you because your experiences are buffoonery. And it's like, look, I can't prove them, but the fact that you actually are not humble makes me not want to be around you, because your left brain is clearly dominant and you don't know how to use your rights, so you don't know how to be grounded in reality, which is why would I be around a dumbass, because that's exactly what you are the minute you think that you know everything. You're a dumbass. You're blind. You just chose to keep a blind spot. I'm not blind. I know I have them. I don't know everything. So you never think in terms of who is doing better or worse than you. The only question is whether you are doing your best. Thank you, Sadhguru. And when you care about what you do, you're not actually competing. So my friend, he says, so listen, because I asked him how he was doing, what do you do to take care of yourself? You're always, doing all this stuff. I said, I take care, don't worry. Nah, he said, no. Okay, he says, here, I'm going to give you this. There's 100 people over there. They all need you. What do you do? And that's the minute he caught me. I was like, come on, stop, I said. You know I'm a vehicle. I'm re-energized. I'm connected to it doesn't take a toll on me, is what I was trying to say. So that's what people who care about each other do. It's moderation always. But I knew what he was saying, but I was like, I'm not going to say no. I can't. I'm a vehicle. So the empowered feminine knows her journey, and it's not something that actually has a toll on you once you are, by the way, in this lovely integrated brain, because your body doesn't actually have the capacity to, what's it called? Your body's amazing when you're using ventral energy. So differentiating of the self, owning the sense of self, the neuroplastic agent of choice, the bright sides, you are able to get comfortable. Thanks to Dr. Daniel Siegel, it helped me to continue to learn when I'm picking up on a big sphere. And then, yes, crystals also helped. Definitely, I had a bunch of crystals. But as my energy body, your light body, once you do light body, rainbow body, and you continue to expand, you get really comfortable. So I got comfortable to my oversoul, then to the earth, then to cosmos. And then once I heard about all the scientists and how they're explaining it, I was like, okay. And like I said, when you pick up on a bunch of people, also, when you hear about the 5D collective and living spirituality from Sadhguru, there's two different ways they talk about it, but it's essentially when you are a restored, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating person. So as Deb Dana would point out, you know how to self-regulate when you're in a room, and it doesn't matter what's going on. Can it be challenging? I haven't met something that I haven't been able to get used to, but it takes time. So it did take time, and I have a course that I didn't finish yet, but it talks about how our energy body expands. So like your window of tolerance expands to window of welcome for your emotional body, which is why the 24 hours always matter. I've been doing positive resiliency since I was a kid, because I'm self-aware, I'm accountable, and I'm regulating, and I wanted to always say, thank you, God, for the life you gave me, because I said yes. it wasn't hard to cry and get over it. And when you meet twin flames, the one thing you know is, I have a life, it's a short one. I ain't gonna waste my fucking time with someone who has bad manners. I can be all upset as I can be. The minute that you are taking advantage and for granted, not advantage, because that's a bullshit word. So we all could be considered taking advantage of each other. That's where the whole intent. But no, you're taking for granted that which is love. A relationship is, I'm going to share my life with you. You're going to share my life, your life. Don't take it for granted. We got 24 hours. Let's appreciate it. Gratitude. And actually, that's something, again, God gave me a miracle. I took seriously my oath, even though I know that people think I broke it because I don't follow the ignorant ancestor. I know who they broke their oath, not the other way around. And that's because, again, science doesn't disprove God. So my promise was, you gave me a gift. I learned about how it's a sin to, want to take your life. It's bad to, not appreciate. And as a kid, I was like, yeah, why would I ever want to not appreciate what I was gifted? Because of people who don't know how to appreciate it. Doesn't make sense. Why would I actually think of life as shit? And the good Christian Catholic upbringing also taught us that every time some bad shit happens, people turn their back on God, which is one thing that I consistently saw, like the teenage boyfriend and a bunch more. So your neuroplastic agent, 24 hours, what you think matters, and your feel first. If you don't learn how to harness those feelings, the feelings manage you. 14-month-olds get grumpy. 3-year-olds get grumpy when they don't know how to become the grown-up version. And then they look weird when you meet them, and they're still the stingy same assholes that they were when they were kids. I didn't hang out with actual assholes, meaning Diego's family, no self-esteem and direct communicators. I hang out with what I'm going to say is more of a Diego, Manny, Sid, Cusco, Pacha. And that's because I have a good gut. And so remember, as Patrick Tan points out, the childhood trauma survivor is the one who doesn't realize that they were not set up to love themselves first. That's why loving yourself first, being yourself, is a confusing letdown. Because first they need to learn how to become the parent they never got. And once they can do that and they have a good gut, then they know who good people are. And that's not because the bad people are bad, but those bad people, the evil scale of Michael Stone, they all end up in prison except for the charming ones. They're not charming. I'm going to make sure to leave you as many clues and hints and as many data points as possible to help you understand. But the first thing is, you need to own your body and your gut and your heart. That way you can fall asleep listening to a man who sounds as beautiful as can be, but you're like, what the fuck is up with this? And that's basically a man who's a dead end. And he stayed in his village, and he stayed small, and in his empty little room, he dreams of monsters, because he told us that on screen. So again, whatever you're thinking, I'm going to know, because you're going to tell it to me. Whatever I'm thinking, you're knowing it right now. The other part about teenagers who are morons, you wear your heart on your face, not even on your sleeve. Your nervous system, we pick up on each other. So when you are a person who's aware of who other is, it's because we're all people. And with attachment trauma education, I have news for you. I was like, okay, so 1, hey God, they're saved. 2, hey God, not everyone wants to be saved. And he's like, no shit, Maria. No, he doesn't curse, but it's like, you have free will, you know this, leave it alone. Source, Akash, Anima Mundi, come on in. Cosmic karmic balancing. I told you, I saw it happen in the flesh. Yes, in my life, my subjective experience. And I also saw what was a replacement. So one thing went off, one thing came on. It was amazing. It's like, it's not true that you sacrifice something. I've never sacrificed anything in my life. But Maria, 45.0 version, is a soul that's been around. Not the soul is actually a part of this. Its name is not Maria. Actually, I have a soul. I have a name. It's Rose, spiritual name. So, but long story short, I've been around for a while is what I was trying to get to, and I've been here probably, I'm going to say, since the eons. But at the same time, I mean, I'm the spokesperson of me. Doesn't it sound a little bit, I think it sounds a little bit egoic. I mean, so we don't have to pinpoint these things. But yes, if you're going to ask me what I know about my soul, I've been around for a while. So sometimes we start at the beginning of the book of Akash. There's also different soul age groups. So that's the way I can explain it to you. But obviously I can also tell you that you would know your story. But as an Akashic record reader, I can also tell you that that's not true. Not everybody knows their story. And as a tarot oracle card reader, I can also tell you that some people, they do know some things, but not all things. So we surrender, but not in the way of, please God help us. No. Empowered feminines are all those who are in the 5D collective, because we own our child the essence of us. We own Shakti, our feminine energy, and we own Shiva, our masculine energy. Purusha, pure consciousness. Prakriti, pure energy. So you are a securely attached, non-traumatized person. There's no obstacles. There ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no mountain low enough, right? And that's because you self-regulate. And so every 24 hours, you know the sky is limitless and that the possibilities are endless because you have a left and right that work together. And you understand that some days you can get grumpy, but you use the bright sides of neuroplasticity and you use healthy self-soothing mechanisms and healthy self-worth and a bunch of different things. And that's why it's not about hiding them or pushing them down or pretending they're not there. It's actually having safe spaces with people to do it the right way. The right way is we have very straightforward ways that we can break our bad habits with our willpower because we all can have them. I'm still breaking mine. Moderation, true selves, moderation of drinking, moderation of, yes, smoking cigars, good food. I'm doing that, right? I need to start doing more activities. So we don't wear masks, but we do wear hats because when you own the sense of self, so I'm a sister hat, I'm a daughter hat, I'm a partner hat, I'm an entrepreneur hat, and that's why I'm a knowing what the right use of power hat. I don't curse, by the way, when I'm with people, just here. That's why I say, okay, listen, to people who don't, usually, if you ever watch my shit, I curse, just FYI. And someone's like, but why, Maria? That's vulgar. I was like, not in our day and era. And really, if you watch a Netflix documentary with, what's his name? Nicolas Cage, you'll find out fuck is a really strong word, and it's like it activates a part of the brain, and I can say that it expresses a lot of emotion, but also I'm not in a room with you, and that's true because when you're in a room with others, there's a we actually regulate with each other. So you crossing these bridges is amazing when you're expanding every 12 months. So we're on a new cycle. Remember, I need to get you our patron content, the paid content for those of you who are working on your 8th and 9th chakra. And I will plan also group activities, so stay tuned for that. I'm still preparing it. You're curious, we have Krishna Lila, our prefrontal cortex, and we have our lovely Shiva and Kali, and that's how I use these words. And when a storm hits, it ain't really a storm because it's the power of your community. First, it's the power of you, so you can self-regulate, and then it's the power of the people around you. But even if you don't have the people around you, when you're securely attached and non-traumatized, you know how to always be forgiving because it isn't bullshit for those who are owners of their 0-1-year-old and the 3 to 7-year-old. So it's as long as you own all that is yours, thoughts and emotions. You're not a trickster lying to yourself. You are a person who understands how the world works and that everyone gets the free will choice. And as mystical shamans, we get to know that our hunters and gatherers, they've always worked together. So the ones who want to put people against each other, they're not on the same journey. We are on the journey to be leaving a legacy to our lovely future generations, and that is one that it brings it all in. So the only ones who don't like it, again, it's a left brain or a low. But when you are using two sides of the brain and you're okay with all pieces of information because you're enjoying them, you see, Consilience Approach. There's a book I need to read. He's a sociologist. I can't wait to read that. So Humanities and Sociology. That is part of my academical years, social sciences. Yes, very interesting, I know, right? So the person you'll be again tomorrow and today, it is reflective of the person you are at all times. What habits, routines, thoughts, emotions, consumptions, everything. And it isn't too serious. It's you got 24 hours, and every time you're repeating a habit of thought and that same emotion, you're not allowing yourself to do something different. You create the resilience the positive way, and that's once you're in a inner growth mindset, at least here at IHP. Others will call it differently. So welcome, self-empowered, enlightened, mystic, spiritual, mindful, living, loving people. It's nice to have a deep, quiet body. That's why it's easy to sit in them when something happens that you don't like and say, God, and then to have lots of fun finding out why you got so lucky. I'm very lucky. So I do thank you for being here. We'll be back again with more. Have a good one.